Hi, welcome to Serious Social. Today we're going to be talking about live filming, a topic that's increasingly popular and we are seeing at immediate future much more in demand from our clients. But one of the issues is live filming is more than just turning on a camera and turning up. So with me today I've got CJ, who's our Managing Director at Immediate Future, to come talk us through the reality of live filming. So I want to start, CJ, by asking a really bleeding obvious question, if that's all right. So the first question I want to ask is really, what is live filming, say, compared to something like Talking Heads?
Joe, it's not such a daft question because I've sat in meetings with clients where agencies have recommended people pick up an iPhone and just do a Facebook Live off their iPhone for a corporate piece of branded content. You should never, ever, ever do that. Talking Heads, you would typically have a structure where you would turn up, you'd have probably 2 if not 3 cameras, some key dialogue you want to talk about, but you'd have an hour or 2 to collect the sound bites. You would go away, you would edit the footage, maybe drop in what we call cutaways, which is external footage relating to the subject matter, and you would package a nice short form video and then it would go on social. For live, all of that has to happen in the moment. So the biggest difference between sort of Talking Heads and live really is the equipment, because you're talking about broadcast quality cameras that can shoot in 4K, production switches, hundreds of meters of cabling, and the expertise to run all of that equipment and do so seamlessly, more often than not in a location that isn't a studio. That's what we call outside broadcast. So you're having to sort of recreate the studio. So you've got to think lighting, you've got to think environment. There's a lot to it, rather than just sort of what we're doing at the moment where we've propped the cameras up and a few minutes later we've probably got something ready to go. It's far more complicated but very compelling.
So what's clear from what you're saying is it's kind of live and in the moment. So how do you wrap in, it seems sensible to do so, how do you wrap in the newsworthiness and the narrative into a live filming?
This is arguably, beyond the equipment and the expertise, this is probably the single most important element. Anyone that watches BBC News and Sky News, what viewers won't realise is all too often when those interviewers are asking questions, they have the knowledge and intellect around a subject matter to answer that question, but they've brought an expert in, to share their 1 or 2 minute opinion. An interviewer's job is to kind of win our viewability. So they're devil's advocates, they're provocative, they take the view of the opinion of the viewer, if you like, but they're quite provocative with how they frame questions. And they're doing that to hook us in for 5, 6, 10 minutes. It's a very specific craft. So when we're doing lives, if you think about brands that have shot videos, and any brand will experience this, you've gone and shot a 1.5 minute video, and then you've gone on YouTube, and you're looking at the analytics, and everyone's bailing at like 15 seconds. If you can't get people to stay for a 1.5 minute video, how the heck are you going to get them to stick around for 10 minutes, 2 hours, a day-long broadcast? Well, it can be done, but you have to be newsworthy. So you have to think about what your news agenda is. Brands cannot talk product first. They need to be talking about the solutions or the impact their product or service has on their audiences. And they need to offer up intellectual property about how they're helping people to solve problems. And the questions have to be framed in a way that say to a CEO or a COO or an IT director, stick around for 4 minutes, we're going to give you this answer. Then you hook people in, then your subject matter expert can go and do their piece, and you get the attention, the viewership. Too many people think, okay, we've got to push this quarter on this product, the CEO wants us to drive more digits on sales, we've got to talk about this product. Here's the thing, nobody gives a shit about that product. And I'm sorry to be so blunt, but that's the truth, right?
It's true.
Nobody cares. So make it relevant. Speak to problems and have somebody that can police your content in being newsworthy. It's what editorial do and have done forever and a day. I grew up in and around big brand PR. It was drummed into me. It really makes a big difference, I promise you.
So another little interesting point, weeks and weeks before we're doing live video, there is franticness in this office and lots of bits of paper and things stuck up on the walls. It seems a lot to do with pre-production.
Oh, big time. And people don't realise this. So when you hear people talking about 3, 4, 5 month pre-production timescales, that's still pretty tight, being really honest with you. But you're right, the craft is in the planning. To have some of the big outside broadcasts that we've done where we're on air for, I don't know, 12, 15 hours a day, in European locations, you've got to think about logistically how you're getting the equipment there, how you're setting up, how you're running. You have to factor in that things will go wrong in a foreign environment. Bulbs are going to blow, power cuts. It's a real sad indictment on the times, and I wasn't sure whether to talk about it. We're in an age of terrorism, so one of the things we have to think about, if something awful happens, what's the filler content that's going out onto screen to protect brands? And that's even before you've scripted anything, thought about all of your links, your intros, your outros, calling out key facets. If you've got, say, 10 interviews, 12 interviews a day, the format, shock horror, is largely going to be the same. But as a presenter, you can't ask the same questions 10 times. Get very boring. So part of what we're having to do is, how can we ask the same question in various ways? Where's the provocation coming from? So an example, if people go onto to YouTube and they look at some of Fujitsu Forum content from November last year, they'll see I was presenting. Most people that watch these know I do that. Go and take a look at the security video. The stat last year was the cost of cybercrime, $600 billion. We called that graphic out, and you see I take a very sceptical, cynical approach to almost scare chief executive officers to pay attention to the segment. We then had a wonderful speaker who spoke eloquently about, yes, you do need to be aware of that, but you don't need to be scared by it if you do the basic bang, bang, bang. So I was deliberately bringing in the drama, the melodramatic element to the piece so that a CEO would pay attention to it and go back to his boardroom and ask the tech team, are we doing the basics? That's tradecraft, and any presenter can do that. When you've got great speakers with brilliant intellectual property, that format allows them to sing. But to make it sing, you're talking about 9-10 weeks of planning and scripting. The schedule, what's the call time for people, what's your on-air time, what's your off-air time. People are going to give you too many answers. Others are going to give you not enough answers. And talking about errors, sometimes even the most skilled people are late getting on stage for a keynote. If you look at the same forum content, Duncan Tate, President Tanaka, through no fault of their own, they were 10 minutes late getting on stage. You will see me film for 10 minutes. All of that has to be crafted.
Talk about everything and your lunch. Yes.
Has to be crafted ahead of time, right? Nobody can do that in the moment. No. But weeks ahead, we're looking at every negative outcome to make sure it all sings.
So, just as an aside, the other part of that is the longer you have, I notice the more you're able to throw graphics up in a live scenario, which is really quite nice. It's quite a nice technique.
Shock horror. People don't like looking at me for 10 minutes, so we need to break up the screen a bit, right? So whenever there's a key narrative or a key soundbite, you can go to a cutaway, you can have an in-picture video content. So one of the simple things that we'll do at events is using a Steadicam, we'll shoot a lovely piece in the demo zone, and there'll be a point throughout the day where we'll throw to that segment and I will voice over it. I'm actually watching the same footage you're seeing live. Our vision mixer and live director is just serving it to a monitor. So I'm able to sort of do the agile voiceover of those pictures coming through. But it just changes things for the viewer. Now we've said all of this, people watching BBC News tomorrow morning, they're going to suddenly think, okay, kind of makes sense. There's a very broadcast approach to a live broadcast, right? TV has been getting it right for decades and decades and decades.
Don't reinvent it.
No.
So which brings me on to the next bit, which is, so that's a really useful tip, which is that if you're doing this, start watching how the broadcasters do.
Definitely.
Have you got 5 tips? 5 tips for us.
Location is key. On a live, make sure that your cameras, wherever you're positioning the presenter and the interviewees, make sure there's something going on in the background. A lot of people will use events to make these happen. There have been times over the years where I've been tucked away in a little room with the cameras running.
Understandable.
Right? But that room could be anywhere. It's the viewers aren't seeing that in an event. So if you're going to do live broadcasting at an event, you have to position yourself within an environment that shows there's energy. You can't talk about a really engaging, popular event, there's thousands coming through the front doors, if you're not showing thousands coming through the front doors. To do that, you need good equipment. You can't badge this together and band-aid it. You need really good lighting. You need really good cameras. You absolutely need all the right rigging equipment from the production desk. I mean, we take reels of cables. I mean, you've seen it. It's literally a lorry load of equipment that goes out. So you've got to think about your schedule when you're building that, how you're laying it down. If you're at an event, all the public liabilities and the risk assessments so people aren't tripping over your cabling. Our office manager, she laughs at the amount of hazard tape that we buy, but there's a reason for it. So location, equipment, dressing. And I don't mean just what people are wearing, but how you're dressing the set, both in the foreground and the foreground. This could be as subtle as plants going in. It could be as dramatic as branding appearing, hashtags and the likes of. Be ruthless with your planning. Stick to a plan. Stick to the editorial approach that I spoke about, and don't fall into the trap of wanting to talk about products. Stick to the sleepless nights, as we call it, the problems. And then lastly, whether you're doing it in-house or bringing in a partner, have a director that knows what they're doing. I mean, this isn't sour grapes, but there's a lot of wannabe directors out there that have never done live broadcast. They've shot films, they've gone away and edited films, but they've never operated in a live moment. And a key part of what I was saying earlier is contingency planning for all the negatives. People that have run live OBs, outside broadcasters we call them, we're a sadistic bunch. We kind of like things going wrong because we like responding to them. We're problem solvers. There are a lot of crafted and talented directors out there, wonderful storytellers, but they need the time of their office at home to have the story come together. They don't have the skill sets for reacting in the moment when things are happening. So don't cut the budget. Get the right person in to lead you. Invest. It doesn't have to be mega money to do a live. I think it'll be cheaper than what people think, but as with all film, the more elements you add, the more your budgets go up. You can end up spending tens and tens of thousands of pounds, but for a live event, broadcast, couple of days, if you had a budget in and around 60, 70 grand, you could be reaching millions of people.
And I think the really interesting thing is that we're talking about quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
The authenticness is still there. It's not so polished that we've driven that out. There's no sort of green screening. It's live, it's authentic, it's in the moment. But with it, everything else is professional, and that's how you represent a brand.
It's a really good point, this, and one that many people don't see. Video's about humanising the brand. And one of the great things about having unpolished speakers is the authenticity that naturally comes through. I've had the fortune of interviewing so many people, I mean, across many of our clients, but a lot within Fujitsu. And there's one individual that stands out in my mind among all of the interviews, and it's this young lady, Ellie Thieker, first time on camera in November last year. She was as nervous as heck, but the vulnerability she showed up to the camera, my word, it loved everything she was saying. And her piece was one of the most popular interviews of the segment. There is something beautiful in having people that don't quite get it right. That's authentic. And particularly when we're talking in an age of social potentially could portray false images of people's lives and businesses and all the rest of it. We've got CGI popping up left, right and centre, green screen stuff happening here, there and everywhere. If you're going to humanise the brand, humanise it with something authentic. Otherwise, people are going to be cynical. So embrace the errors. They're okay. Have a presenter that knows their craft, and if any errors are made in a live moment, they'll be able to mask it, pick up on it. I've had people accidentally swear on air, which isn't ideal in a live scenario. I've asked questions when dramatic background music has come up in the background, and you just have to say things like, "Oh, what wonderful timing! Thank you very much," and then you carry on. So have a presenter that can react to all of that. They can orchestrate everything, and then just embrace it. Don't be fearful of showing a bit of vulnerability.
So, one of the things is the reason why live video is increasing in demand is it has impact.
Yeah.
We're actually seeing incredible results
Yeah.
out of live video. It's part of the reason why some of those platforms in social that have been a bit late to the party, like LinkedIn, are now moving that way towards live, because actually it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So tell me about some results. Tell me about why it works.
Okay, so Fujitsu Forum 2018, November last year, 2-day broadcast. And we were really prescriptive about who we serve the content to. So this is a great thing about Facebook, Twitter. You can use the paid modeling in the background. So we could ensure we were only targeting CEOs, COOs, CIOs, CTOs. I want to make this point clear. This isn't about just putting content out for anyone to see it. We were producing and serving this content to CTOs. By the end of day 2, 68,688 minutes of content had been viewed. Not 3-second views, 10-second views, over 68,000 minutes viewed. People are going to say, what does that equate to? This is what it equates to. All 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, including this season 8 that's yet to be broadcast, binge watch back to back 17 times over. Now take a look at the videos that you've produced as a brand, and take a look at the views that you've had and the viewed time, and then ask yourself, should you carry on with those product and service videos, or should you be looking at a news agenda that's going to bring alive your proposition and talk to your core audience in a way that's going to make them think, okay, you guys have got something smart, we need to discuss this a bit more. Fujitsu are going to kill me for saying this on camera because I don't want their rivals to see it.
But they are wow numbers, aren't they? We're seeing it across the board.
We get millions of views.
Yeah.
Millions of views. I mean, RAF 100 last year, within minutes of going live, we were just short of 600,000 views within minutes. I mean, if you have the right content and the right story, and that is important, amazing things can happen. We're Facebook partners here, so we get a lot of support from Facebook. But honestly, Facebook can't get enough of this content. Twitter cannot get enough of this content. LinkedIn wouldn't be LinkedIn if they weren't late to the party. Launching a beta version February this year, US only, invite only. They need to be doing more. Yeah. But again, YouTube, they want good content, right? Yeah. This is what social media is all about. And for some reason, many brands are still nervous about utilising it in the fashion that really comes alive and kills it.
And I see there's some bustle starting again.
I know, 11 weeks till our next live broadcast. Yeah. Fujitsu World Tour, first week in July. This one's in London, so no travel. That's great. We can drive to the venue. But yeah, there will be a 2-day live outside broadcast on the 3rd and 4th of July, where we're expecting to replicate the wonderful heady heights of November last year. And the great thing is, you know what Fujitsu are like, they're going to bring all their big guns from all over the world to come and speak to us. The insight and the trust that they give us to run these programs for them is wonderful. But they then get to bask in the glory as a brand. They're the people that should be applauded for this. They've been courageous enough to step up and give it a go. They now deserve all the results they're getting.
Brilliant. Thank you, CJ. So I hope you enjoyed today. If you want to find out more about our Serious Socials, follow the hashtag Serious Social. You'll see more in the coming weeks. Thank you.